resilience. And so I know she's a parent, I'm a parent. We had this idea of having a talk on back to school, how to ease the transition, whether you're kind of going back to school and you're at home, whether you're going back to school with your kids. They're virtually likely, and then, you know, having to work either part or full time. This is a really relevant topic right now since everyone is sending their kids back to school. So thank you so much for attending this. This is going to be a more of an intimate group. I know that some people that can't attend today might be working or might be helping their parents, their kids with homeschooling rather. So you can watch the recording afterwards. But for those that are in attendance today live, thank you for showing up here. We're going to start with some CIH updates as we usually do. This is a little ginger drink, I think, with or without alcohol. I know some people have used alcohol to manage the transition. This is a ginger drink without alcohol that I just found on the internet, but I've been into these ginger juices here, which I'm going to just right here. And they're really great to increase stomach acid and to basically help the digestive system, really give you some energy. And ginger activates many, you know, probably thousands of different anti-inflammatory genes in the body. So that's really nice if you're trying to just kind of have a pick-me-up during or after work, or, you know, with your kids, and you don't have to do that with alcohol either. I kind of found this just to make this a more school type of thing, little plushies that people have been generating to 2020 class of COVID. These little plushies, I'm not sure if I want to get these for my kids. I'm going to see that around the house, but that's kind of in there. And then just updates, you know, cases are holding steady in Maryland in terms of coronavirus. But basically, we still have to optimize our immune systems here. And I've gone through some of these slides before, so I'm going to skip over this a bit. I want to talk about kids. So we're talking about school kids. They've had a couple of recent studies. So this was just published in last week, printed out rather. This has not been peer-reviewed yet, but it has been pre-printed. And this is a study from Duke University School of Medicine called the Brave Kids Study. And it's showing that with over 382 kids with the close contact that was infectious, with COVID-19, and they were, you know, living in the house together in close contact. 76% of the kids were infected, but actually 38% of the kids that were ages 6 to 13 were completely asymptomatic, compared to teenagers at ages 14 to 20, despite similar viral loads. So despite the same amount of virus in their nostrils, you know, a lot of the younger kids were actually completely asymptomatic, and they were less likely to have typical COVID-19 symptoms, including gastrointestinal symptoms and upper respiratory symptoms. So that's important to know, is that, you know, as we try to figure out with the county and, you know, everyone, what's going on with the schools, are we going to open up in the second semester, we have to look at studies like this to inform our decision making as well. Another study from the United Kingdom that was just published in the British Medical Journal looked at 651 children, that were hospitalized in the UK with coronavirus. And, you know, at least for kids, because I think a lot of us are worried about our kids and know what's going to happen. Six of those 651 children did die in the hospital. All had serious underlying conditions like chronic heart or lung issues. So that's a less than 1% mortality rate, compared with other groups in the UK. 27% on average that needed hospitalization for COVID-19 died, you know, once they got admitted to the hospital. So there is a lower risk, and it doesn't mean it's a zero risk, but that is somewhat reassuring at least. And then another thing that I'm kind of interested to hear what Liz has to say about is, how do we manage this transition? There's this transition right now with school, but then even like moving forward, like, you know, as this kind of, you know, the WHO came out with a statement saying coronavirus might be around for 2 years. Other people are like, it's never gonna, you know, go away, and like this is a new normal. So are we gonna put masks on our monuments? We're gonna put masks on Gwyneth Paltrow here. This is Gwyneth Paltrow, so you can't really recognize her. You know, are we going to start saying namaste instead of namaste? You know, so these are just things that we have to think about. You know, we have to think about this, how are we going to manage this? How are we going to actually, you know, deal with this? And hopefully we can get back to more of a normal sense and be outside in nature without masks down the line. There are some vaccines that are underway, trials that are underway. If they're safe and effective, you know, I think we would support that. That's a big, you know, trying to make it safe and effective. You know, it's only been 8 months since this new virus was discovered. There's 160 vaccines in research, and there's 31 that are undergoing major clinical trials, but there's 3 major trials that are happening right now with NIH, BioNTech, and Oxford, and these are the drug companies associated with them. So they're up to 30,000 people per trial. I know I think some people are trying to push for more, get it before November 1st. Again, it has to be safe and effective regardless. And so there are some concerns about that, but the National Academy of Sciences has released a vaccine priority list, including people at higher risk of the virus, people at like healthcare professionals, people that are at higher risk based on health conditions, would be kind of first in line for that potentially. So they do want some comment, which is going to end tomorrow, about how you feel about these, comment publicly on this vaccine priority list. So at the bottom there where it's /vaccine, you can go to a link to have comments about their kind of order of operations. And then the flu vaccine I've talked about before, we don't have it yet, but probably in a week or so, we're going to have a mercury-free flu vaccine. And this is their schedule for the rest of the month that you can see. Jay Gill will be talking about compounded prescriptions for personalized preventative medicine. Araceli at CIH will be talking with me about red light therapy to optimize energy. And then Carrie Jones, naturopathic doctor and medical director of the Dutch test, will be talking about hormone balance for your best life in a Q&A session, which will be very good. And Liz Rees is here today, and so happy to see you here, Liz. And thank you for joining us and preparing this on back to school, easing the transition, which we'll just talk about in about a minute. We have a couple other group visits that you can reach out to Wendell about. I think you can reach out through the CIH main inbox, which is our new messaging system now. I think it's on there on the slide, but message CIH main inbox, and then just if you want to talk, listen in, there's these virtual group visits that we built to insurance on optimizing immune health, optimizing sleep. Those are on September 8th and September 15th, which are both Tuesdays starting at 4 p.m. And I'll be leading those, and that should be a lot of fun too. How do we get back to normal? How do we get back to, there's multiple ways which are not mutually exclusive here, but I think boosting your immune system, reestablishing slightly new routines, and connecting back to your heart. At the end of the day, we have to connect back to our hearts, which is, I think, part of what we want to talk about today. How do we manage these transitions that are happening? I wanted to say one thing for all the patients out there here, that we do have a new messaging system, and we're going to continue to talk about this. This is called the CIH main inbox. That's where you're going to send most of your messages now, so we can hopefully process them faster and respond faster. This is going to be for anyone on the medical side that you're trying to reach a medical assistant or a provider, a nutritionist, or physical therapy, which is Dr. Hiza. Those messages will be routed to the appropriate staff and or inbox for that response. So appointment requests and changes, messages related to the different clinicians, prescription refill, supplement requests, and other miscellaneous messages that you feel are more related to, just anything related to CIH, clinical or admin, just send to the main inbox and we'll route it to the right person so we can get a faster response for you. So that's part of our message system overhaul. We also have separate inboxes that you can directly message for billing and for insurance verification. Let me see, there's one chat. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. Good to see everyone. Thanks for saying hi. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz now and have her talk about what she does and about how to manage your transition during this school time. So thank you, Liz, again. I'm going to stop share.
Great. Thanks for having me here today. It's a really pleasure. And it's great to be here with everyone, all the fellow parents out there. I'm going to actually share my screen. Give me 1 second while I figure this out. Where does it say present?
Upper right.
Upper right, thank you. All right, let me just get through these slides to my slide. Okay. That's me. Hi, everyone. So yes, my name is Liz Rees. I'm a resiliency coach. Basically, I help people build their capacity to respond to life with a calm and clear heart. So generally, I'm working with people on building the skills to be able to do that, to be able to live the life that they want and to be able to be the person that they want to be in all situations, especially those tricky life situations that come along, like the one that we're all in right now. Okay. So I would love to actually get to know everyone a little bit. And if everyone could just, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat box what it is, I'm sorry, what grades your kids are in. Are you working from home? Are you working full-time or part-time? And also, what are some of the maybe worries or concerns that you have around school? And I think I have a technical question to ask Jen or Dr. Wong. Can I see the chat box while I'm sharing? I can't see it. Do I have to unshare?
Yes, so you should be able to float your mouse above. There should be a green bar towards the top.
Oh, I see it. Yes, I see it.
And then that should let you find the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. There's the chat. All right. So Dr. Wong's kids are in 5th and 1st grade, working full time. Concerns are around socialization of kids, how they will get a well-rounded education during this time. Awesome. I have 2 kids. Mine are in 7th grade and 9th grade. I am working fullish time, but very flexible. And I have concerns around the amount of screen time that they're on and socialization as well. So we have Sarah, who has a 6th grader and 8th grader, concerned about mental health of kids being on screens for 6 hours. Yes. And yeah, if you could send the messages to all attendees, that would be awesome. James, father of a 3rd and a 5th grader, working full-time from home, socialization, attention, and stress. Absolutely. I hear you. What other parents do we have out there? Kids are grown, mostly interested in HeartMath, but also interested in all things wellness. Awesome. Welcome, Bobby. We have Beth. My son is in preschool and I'm homeschooling him. I am a part-time high school teacher working from home. Just started in a new school. I am concerned with stress and balance for myself and screen time for my son. Absolutely. Anyone else before we move on? All right. Another one just said 9th and 7th grade, concerned with socialization. Okay, sweet. I agree. How do I get that off my screen? Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. So, basically, what I thought of when we came up with this topic, Dr. Wong and I, is with so much happening right now in our world, in our culture, we have this pandemic going on. And not only is there a pandemic, but there's social unease, there's social unrest. There's also an election that's coming up, it's on the horizon, that is really, really fraught with anxiety and there's a lot of concern there as well. And so these are sort of unprecedented times, at least in our lives. And there's a lot of individual anxiety and stress and concern, but there's also a lot of collective energy of just unease, uncertainty, high anxiety. And so it's really affecting everyone across the board, both on an individual and a collective level. And it's not going to get any easier anytime soon. So this is a concern. And actually, as we approach the election, things are just going to ratchet up even more and become more intense for us and for everyone. And that is really, really hard. So I would love to just take a moment with you all and acknowledge the fact that this is a difficult time. We're all going through a very difficult time. We have real concerns for our children, for their mental and physical well-being. We have real concerns for our culture and our society. We have real concerns for ourselves, and this weighs heavily on everyone. And so I would love to just take a moment together with you all if you would just put your hand on your heart for one moment, and let's all together take a breath. And then exhale. And another breath in. And exhale. And just allow yourself to feel some compassion for yourself and for everyone who's going through what we're all going through. And so that brings us to the question of, how can we care for our emotional well-being, and how can we cultivate ease during this time? How can we address some of these issues that everyone brought up around around going back to school in the middle of a pandemic? So I would love to hear if anyone, just off the bat, has any comments or about that, what they have done to cultivate their emotional well-being, to cultivate ease during this time. And if you'd like to, you can raise your hand and we can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself if you'd like to just go ahead and talk.
Can I say something about when the pandemic hit? I realized that I need to kind of go more internally, and I started to work with you, Liz, on HeartMath, and I started to get back to meditation, yoga, try to exercise a bit. I started to do something called Miracle Morning, which is a book and a practice that you can kind of do in the morning. Things like affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and then journaling, and I think there might be one more that I missing right now, but silence at the beginning. So silence. So that's what I kind of am doing for the last over 4 months now, and it's really changed the way I practice, and even from a medical perspective. But during the day, I just feel much more grounded, and I think that for my kids, who are 10 and 6, I mean, I really feel like the best thing we can do as parents is to be an example and live our lives as authentically as possible. And part of that is taking care of ourselves and our emotional well-being. And they see that too. And that to me is kind of the best way to teach them, is to live it ourselves. So, but that's what I've been doing some. So I have gotten the HeartMath Inner Balance. It's been a little slow, for me to get onto that, but I am getting onto that. And I think it's just been really just trying to take a step back and figure out what's, the most important things for me to cultivate right now in my life to take care of myself there. And then that, I think, by extension starts to affect in a positive way in terms of my family.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Those are really great suggestions. And powerful ones too. It's really awesome. Anyone else have things that they have done that they've been able to incorporate into their daily life, or maybe not daily, but when you're able to cultivate ease during this time? Oh, I keep pressing this thing. For me, same thing. I'm practicing HeartMath and very similar things, Dr. Wong, that you've talked about. Another thing, though, that I have found that has been really helpful for me for cultivating ease is to begin to look at what it is I'm doing that is causing me anxiety and stress. So for me, for example, I have a tendency to want things to go a certain way and to be, I err on the perfectionist side, and I have a lot of shoulds that I think should be happening or shouldn't be happening. And it's really difficult because it doesn't work. It doesn't work during a pandemic. I'm unable to control the things that I normally feel like I should be able to and can be able to control. So my practice that brings me ease is to look at those things that I am trying to control and trying to really, I'm judging myself and others really for when it comes down to it. And I've been asking myself, okay, is this the best is this the best approach for me right now? How can I maybe soften on this one topic with my child? Can I soften around, I see you texting when you're supposed to be paying attention. Can I soften my response and instead of flying off the handle? Or can I, just not expect that every meal is going to be perfect? Things like that.
Just that compassion, for ourselves that can lead to compassion for others.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Beth, if you have, you wrote something, if you'd love to, if you would call in to hear your voice.
Yeah. How do you do that, Jen? How do you put the raise hand thing up there? If you want to, you don't have to, but oh, there it is. Okay, so you can, yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I didn't do that before because my computer's been a little wonky with being able to talk. I've been trying to meditate. I think Dr. Wong really covered everything. I've been trying to catch myself before I spiral, and that's a big thing for me, is like certain point, like I start out okay in the morning, but as things seem like they're piling on faster than I can delegate or deal with them, I start to like get in this like just very heavy feeling mode, and I'm trying to catch myself before I descend into that, to try and like go for a walk or go outside or go meditate for 20 minutes and then come back and be a little bit more refreshed and able to handle it. Because once I get into that mode, I find that I start to like lash out at my husband or something like that over unnecessary things. I don't know if anybody else can identify with that, but like I get upset over trivial things that aren't really the problem once I get into that mode. So for me, it's really just, like I said, catching myself before it gets too far.
Thank you. Yes, I can absolutely relate. I love that. Catching yourself before you spiral. That's a really good way to put it. Thank you for sharing, Beth. I appreciate it. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share before we move on? Okay, then I will go ahead and move on. Okay, there we go. So cultivating ease, of course, number one thing is self-care, is really dialing up the self-care at this time. And I love this. I just recently learned that Capital Integrative Health uses this acronym of SMART. And this is, the basics of self-care. So sleep, mindfulness, and for me, mindfulness is being present, being clear, and being heart-focused. Activity, moving your body and doing those things that you enjoy. Exercise is, of course, included in that, but even just moving your body on a regular basis, going for a walk, what Beth just mentioned, eating real food, and then the ties, those connections with our friends and our loved ones. So I think that's a really great one just to remember. And now more than ever, we need to be dialing this up, especially as I mentioned, we are moving closer to the election, and things are just going to get a little trickier as collectively we all ramp up in terms of our emotions.
Can I say one thing about that, Liz, the SMART acronym? It's I said this to you the other day, I think it's kind of funny, but we call it SMART and not T-SMART. It's not like it's S-M-A-R-T and not T-S-M-A-R. A lot of times we think of, hey, hey, I wish my partner, I wish my friend, was just a little bit more mindful or something. I wish they didn't do something, right? And so we know that the ties of relationships, it starts with self-care. It starts with, again, loving and compassion for ourselves, and that's where the sleep, mindfulness, activity, and real food are intentionally ordered first before the ties. Once you're present with yourself, you can be more present with your with others, with your loved ones, and with your friends, and that strengthens your ties. Strengthening your ties doesn't necessarily depend on them changing. It depends on you changing.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that
Yeah.
So that's why we say it's SMART, and kind of versus like T-SMART or something.
I love that. Thank you. That's so
funny,
cool.
yeah.
Plus, it wouldn't sound as good.
It just wouldn't sound good. It wouldn't make sense. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, so what I generally focus on with clients is the mindfulness piece. So HeartMath would really fall under what we would consider mindfulness. And basically, you know, the mind and the body are really intertwined through your emotions. And I think that is something that we just don't often realize enough. So we already answered that question. What are some ways that you can invite in more ease? But I'm going to talk a little bit about one technique that I use with clients, that is a HeartMath technique to invite more ease into our lives. And then after we do this one technique, we're going to talk again about the other concerns that you brought up that everyone brought up in the beginning around socializing, screen time and whatnot. But I would like at least to offer you one technique that can help to manage sort of your inner landscapes during this difficult time. So I use this all the time with clients. I think it's a super useful way to kind of map where it is that we are. So if you think of yourself as an energy management system, and you can also think about it with your kids too. And I think that this is just a way to sort of understand what's going on with yourself and even with other people. So if you think about yourself as an energy management system, and you have, you start the day, hopefully you've had good sleep and you're starting the day with a full battery. And then throughout the day, we are leaking energy from our battery. And then generally maybe around 3 o'clock, there's a crash and we need to have a cup of coffee, or by the end of the day, we're absolutely completely exhausted. And there can be many reasons why we drain energy from our battery. And some of them can be just, an infection or not a good night's sleep or our diet. But another big drain that we're often unaware of is the emotional drain that on our lives. And it's interesting because it doesn't have to be an emotional drain that is, an outbreak. You would think you would have a huge meltdown, or like a child would have a huge meltdown. Yeah, that's a big drain. But there are lots of other small drains that happen throughout the day. And so I'd like to take a look at this grid with everyone, and because I think it helps to explain what's happening with our minds and our bodies and our emotions that are depleting our batteries. So the horizontal line is your hormonal response. And to the left-hand side, there are hormones like cortisol that are associated with the depleting emotions. And then on the right-hand side of this grid, you see there are hormones such as DHEA and others that are associated with renewing emotions and renewing your energy. And then if you look at the vertical line, this is your autonomic nervous system. That's what it represents. And so on the high side is when you're in the sympathetic state. And so your heart rate is higher. And there are lots of other things that go along with being in the sympathetic state. It's a way more active state. Your vision can narrow. You may not be digesting as well. There's lots of things are going on. Then if you look at the lower, on the very bottom, is when you're in the parasympathetic state and your heart rate is a lot lower. This is associated with relaxation, and you may be digesting a little better when you're in the parasympathetic state. A lot of things are happening automatically. So if you look at this quadrant, they are all also associated with an emotion. So in the upper left-hand quadrant, these are the large emotions. These are large depleting emotions. And so, for example, it could be something like anger, big frustration. I don't know, are there any anything else that anyone can think of that's big and up here? Anxiety, I would put.
Yeah, I was going to say anxiety too. Yeah.
Yeah. rage, even rage, fear, all of these things are in this upper left-hand quadrant. And so generally your heart is beating faster. You've got more cortisol pumping through your body. So there's a physiological response that's happening with these emotions. And then if you go down to the lower left, these are you're moving into the parasympathetic state. And this can be associated with things like loneliness, sadness, concern, boredom. Is there anything else that
would depression be in that category, or
depression? For sure. It could be mild things. It could be irritation. I don't know if I spelled that right. Yeah, there's lots of things, and I don't know if anyone has any others that might fit down there. Oh, 2 new messages. How do I get over there? I can't see. Oh, yeah.
Disappointments. Christine said disappointments.
Okay, thank you. Yes, disappointment is definitely one. Disappointment. Is there anything else in the
what about apathy? You know how like sometimes people are getting apathetic towards COVID-19 news, or just like get it over with already, you know, that kind of thing.
For sure, apathy. That's great. I can't read the chat box right now, so.
I don't know if you want the spell checker. We don't have to say.
Yeah, my spelling is pretty.
Yeah, double R.
Why the irritation? Oh, I can't get back there. I don't know how to get back to that box.
That's fine.
Everyone knows that it's irritation in my spelling.
We'll use HeartMath to mitigate that irritation.
There we go. So now if you look at the opposite, if you look at the top right-hand side, these are emotions that are larger and that are associated with happiness. That's an easy one. What's another one? These are renewing emotions, filling you up.
Joy,
love, awe, wonder. What's another one?
Excitement.
Is that right? Excitement.
So probably anything that increases endorphin rush, like being out in nature and things, would that be up in that quadrant?
Totally. So yeah, like I think wonder, being out in nature, or just perhaps that would be connection to nature might be here. Which isn't really an emotion, but it sort of is if you think about it. There's something.
Where would gratitude be in this?
I think gratitude can be. It depends on the intensity of the gratitude. You could be feeling such an amazing sense of gratitude that it's elevated. Your heart rate's going up. You're moving above the energetic line of the parasympathetic state, I would say, and that could be gratitude. But gratitude can also be quiet.
Sarah said compassion too.
Compassion, yes. And I think compassion can also be in either of these quadrants. There can be a gentle sort of compassion that's more calm.
I would also put in the upper right transcendence, like when you realize you're part of a whole, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
It's like I think that's some sort of realization, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. What are some other things that can go in the
peace, maybe?
Yeah. I can't see the I don't know how to see the
okay, so Babby said exuberance. That would probably be in the
yes. Exuberance. So I don't even know if I'm spelling it right. That's okay.
And then of course people take drugs or coffee to try to bring some chocolate. Yeah, these are foods, but
it's true. I drink my calm tea.
Calm tea. Oh, contentment. That's a good one. Contentment.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
All of these things are perfect. So generally, just take a moment and look at this quadrant and think about where it is that you're spending a lot of time. Especially when you think about the transition back to school. When you think about all of the screen time, when you think about all of these things, is it moving you over to the left or is it moving you more to the right? Now I'm going to unannotate so I can now I can see the messages. Okay. Irritation, loneliness, disappointments, fear. Good. I'm reading through them. So where do most people, I would love to hear, where do most people find themselves? Are they on the left hand or the right hand side? Oh, I spelled loneliness wrong.
I guess one of the things I'm finding is that even with COVID, I think by doing that morning practice and doing something, literally just a few minutes a day, really. I mean, I definitely feel like I can go back and forth. It's pretty normal to go back and forth, but yeah, I would say I'm more in line with the gratitude and just feeling, excitement about, possibilities ahead in terms of just trying to make a new path forward. But yeah, it looks like people have comments. I can read them to you if you want, and then you can.
Them now. I as soon as I stopped annotating, as soon as I stopped.
Yeah, typing. I don't know if Jim, you want to do the chat, but because I think it's it might be good to just kind of say it. We were talking to the sound healer that was on a couple weeks ago, and like just speaking, actually, like there's something about typing, but then there's something about speaking. It actually is very calming to hear your own voice. So if you want to get in there and chat, I think you can raise your hand. It looks like you can.
We can unmute you, or I think you can unmute yourself.
How do you? Yeah, Jen, I'm always not super good with how to do that, but maybe.
The easiest way is if you would like to talk, just raise your hand because I'll have to permit to talk, and then the speaker can unmute themselves, but you have to be permitted first.
So Jim says, unless he wants to speak up and chat on it, he's saying, chatting in there, lately struggling to stay to the right of the line, so maybe more on the left of the line.
Yep. We also have Beth saying she's okay in the morning, but then she gets depleted and moves to the left as the day goes on. Absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and then that's interesting. Yeah, and then sort of like this adrenal depletion, kind of moving from DHEA more to cortisol, or at least too much cortisol. Certain time might be depleting. And then Kathleen says mostly on the right, but I don't have children at home. So,
I think Beth and Martha are unmuted now.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello. I also have a practice now. I'm actually an ordained minister, and I live in a retirement community. So I have started now for 15 weeks now. I've done a meditation practice for the residents that's broadcast over the internal TV of the community. And I really understood that as I prepare all these meditations for the rest of the community where I live, they really keep me on the right side of the chart, because I have to focus those meditations on helping people to experience those things.
Yeah.
And so that's been a wonderful benefit, really, to me, that I hadn't even focused on.
That's amazing.
But I'm very happy about that.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. So as you do for others, you really are doing for yourself. And that helps to keep you not focused on all the things that you wish you had or were doing without, but it keeps you focused on outside of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Martha, for sharing that. That's so true. Absolutely.
Oh, sorry. Am I still unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Okay. I agree with Martha that focusing on other people outside of yourself helps you. It definitely helps me keep perspective, but I also find that I will give, and then need to really watch that I have enough left, because it's that whole concept of like putting on your own oxygen mask first before trying to help everybody else. So I find that I actually have to like I was saying before, I have to evaluate throughout the day and try and really closely monitor that, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. It's the caretaker's dilemma. It does, you know, it does fill you up to take care of other people, but I completely agree with you, Beth, that there's, you know, there comes a point when you really need to be taking care of yourself so that you have something left to take care of other people. And that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else before we move on? So the reason I'm sharing this is because there is a physiological impact of emotions on your body, and it will drain you throughout the day, or it will drain you in the situation. And so when it comes to easing the transition back to school, it's one thing to really be mindful of is your own, where are you on this grid? What's going on? Because when you're on the left-hand side, it's going to be harder to actually deal with whatever is coming up for you. You're not going to be as clear. You're not going to be as focused. And it'll just deplete your energy and spiral you down. Someone before, I don't remember who it was, maybe it was Beth, who said that they can find themselves spiraling down. And so when you're living so much on the left, that's an easy place to find yourself in. But that said, we can move ourselves to the right. Oh, how do I get this off? Sorry. I need to erase all these things. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. And so how do we do that? So this is the technique I wanted to just share with everyone. This is a HeartMath technique. It's called Inviting Ease with HeartMath. And there are three steps in it. The first is to notice a name. The second is compassionate acceptance. And the third is the quick coherence technique. And I'll take everyone through this really quickly, and then we can open it up for some discussion about other things.
Can you just say really quickly, Liz, what HeartMath is for listeners that maybe have never heard?
Absolutely. So HeartMath is something that was developed by the HeartMath Institute. They've been studying the heart for decades. And so basically the heart is this powerful organ. Of course it pumps blood, but it does a lot of other things. It has its own neural network that's sending signals to your brain all the time. Actually, it's sending more signals to your brain than the other way around. Your heart also lets out an electromagnetic field that can be measured outside of your body, so other people can really read your field. And it's also sending messages to all the other organs and cells within your body. So it's this really, really, really valuable and important organ. So we can draw on the power of the heart to help us to regulate our emotions, to help us to regulate that map, that quadrant that I showed you before. So by tapping into the power of the heart, you can help move yourself from that left-hand side of the quadrant over to the right-hand side. And you do this in some very simple techniques, and this one I'm going to show you right now. So it's focusing on your heart, it's doing some breath work, and it's eliciting emotion. Those are the basic, like the very basic steps. So here we're going to invite some ease with HeartMath. So before I go on, does anyone have any questions about HeartMath? Okay. If not, then I'll move on. So notice a name. That's the first step. So for instance, you'd say, what's going on for you in the moment? What's happening? What's the situation like? So, right, it could be, I'll give you an example. Or actually, does anyone have an example for when they found themselves on the left-hand side of the grid? And if so, would you raise your hand? If not, I can give an example. I don't see anyone raising their hand. At least I'm not able to see. Okay, then I will, let me share an example. So for example, what's going on for me? Recently, my son was online and he was doing schoolwork all day, and then he got off and he just wanted to relax. And so said, great, go ahead and relax. And what does he do? He goes and he picks up his phone and he wants to relax on the phone. And so immediately I went over to the left. I was very frustrated. I was concerned. Oh my gosh, my son he was just online. Like he was just on the screen for all of this time. And to relax, he wants to get back on the screen. And so I was, feeling very judgmental. I was feeling worried for him. I had all of these emotions that came up for me. And so that's what it was. I was feeling the emotions of frustration. I was feeling the emotions of guilt, of fear, of a whole bunch of different things. And then I noticed, how was I feeling this in my body? So for me, how does it present in my body? I tend to hold my breath. I will actually stop breathing, or my breathing gets very shallow, or I feel some tightness in my chest. Sometimes my face will get a little red. And I will tense my muscles. So that's for me how I feel those particular emotions. So the first thing is notice a name. What's going on? What emotions are coming up? And where are they presenting themselves in your body? And then the second step is compassionate acceptance. So what that means is basically that this is what's happening for you right now. For me, that's what was happening. My son wanted to relax on the phone. He wanted to look at some mindless YouTube videos, and I was feeling not okay about it. And I just needed at that moment to take a second and just accept that this is happening. I'm experiencing feelings of frustration, and this is okay. This is okay. I don't have to beat myself up. Oh, you shouldn't be thinking this, or I shouldn't be, or anything. It was just it was okay. So just allowing myself to be here and now, and to have compassion for myself, to say, this is really hard. This is really hard for me. We've never been, if he were at school all day, I wouldn't have to worry about this. This is really hard for him. So it's compassion for him as well. He was just sitting in front of, having to do a boring school lesson for a really long time, and he just wanted to unwind. And this is how he knows how to unwind right now as a 15-year-old. And so I had compassion for him. And then the third step is to practice the quick coherence technique. And this is a HeartMath technique that's really, really easy to do. And I would love to do it with everyone right now. So it starts with heart-focused breathing. So if everyone can focus your attention on the area of your heart, and go ahead and place your hand on your heart. And now, if you can breathe in and out through your nose a little bit more deeply than you normally would. And you want to find a pattern that's rhythmic and easy and comfortable for you. And it can be helpful to imagine that the breath is entering and exiting through your heart. Beautiful. And now in this stage, in this state, if you can just imagine a state of ease. For me, sometimes I imagine that there's a cacophony all around me, and I pick up a pair of noise-canceling headphones and I place them on my ears, and suddenly there is silence. But whatever it is for you that brings you ease, call that to mind. And see if you can re-experience the feeling of ease. What does ease feel like in your body? Sometimes it can be helpful to bring a little smile to your face. Now bring your attention back to the area of your heart. And imagine that the breath is flowing in and out through your heart rhythmically. And let's take a deep breath in together. And exhale. And one more breath in. And exhale. And you can open up your eyes. Go ahead and share, if you'd like, how you feel. If you were able to call in some ease. Was anyone able to move over to the right-hand side for even just a moment? Yes, Sarah says more calm and peaceful. Wonderful. I feel more calm and peaceful, for sure. A little bit of ease. I can't hear you, Dr. Wong.
Beth feels better, a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, I agree with Kathleen too. It helps to put the hands on the heart, you know?
Yeah,
It helps.
I agree. It helps to focus the attention to your heart. And so it seems this is super easy. It's the most basic of the HeartMath techniques. And I think some things to really to consider is that the breath is really rhythmic. It's moving in and out in a beautiful up and down wave-like pattern. And that's helping to regulate the length of time between your heartbeats. It's your heart rate variability. So that's one important aspect, is the rhythmic breathing. And then a second very important aspect is to cultivate an emotion, to try to feel and experience a sense of ease or some other emotion. If you're unable to reach for ease, it could just be neutrality, right? Or if you could reach for compassion or joy, that's great too. So whatever is really available to you at the time, but it's feeling it. It's being able to cultivate it. Sometimes I find for me that I can easily call an image up, but also if I just look at my hands and I appreciate them, or I just look out the window and I notice the leaves, or if I just look over at my kids and I think, gosh, I love you, that can be enough to move me into a feeling state. Sarah, great question. Do your kids practice HeartMath, and what do you recommend for teens? I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, I have taught them HeartMath, and they see me doing it. They see me, I mean, it's not, when I do it, it's no longer obvious because I've been doing it for so long, and it doesn't need to be a sit down with your eyes closed thing. Now I just start breathing, and they notice my breathing changes, and they notice that I begin to shift. And so, but I've also taught them, and while they wouldn't like to admit it, because they're teens, I do see them stop and drop down and begin to change their breathing, and I see them shift. And so I know that this is a skill. And so I would recommend that teens, I've worked with teens, and it's a great tool. It's a great practice because you could do it on the fly, and it's easy for them to do. It doesn't require, a lot of teens don't like meditation. They find it harder, but this is something that you can do short and easily in the moment. So this way, we went a little bit longer than I had thought, but I would love to talk, if anyone has anything that they want to bring up about, some of the things that were a concern, or any questions about easing this transition. This is one technique that you can use on your own or with kids. Anybody else have any tips or ideas or inspirations that they would like to bring up before we leave?
I just want to say one thing about the putting the hand on the heart. That's really stimulating the vagus nerve. We know that there's actually research on when you meet someone, when kind of post-COVID, as we meet people in person again and get together with people, when you offer them a hot cup of tea or coffee or a beverage, there's something about the warmth of that. It actually calms that other person's system down. So it's something about warmth. And then when I read that study a couple of years ago, when I put my hand on my heart, I noticed, my hand is warm. Then my chest gets warm when I put my hand on my heart, and I'm stimulating that vagus nerve. There's something about the warmth of doing that, like loving yourself, being there for yourself, physically putting that hand on there is stimulating that vagus nerve and helping you relax. So I just, again, going back to that, putting the hand on the heart thing. You can see that with a lot of different practices, but.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. We usually don't offer ice cold water. I guess we do in the summertime. Like, hey, would you like an ice cold water cup of water? It's usually like, hey, would you like some? But I guess in the summer it might be different. People might want a colder drink, but.
True.
Gabby's hand is raised, so I'm going to ask her to.
Yes, please.
Talk.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to say about the hand on the heart. The reciprocal is the feeling you get when someone like touches their heart in thanking you or saying hello to you or that you've moved them is such a warm feeling to receive also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's like emotional warmth, physical warmth, emotional warmth. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Thank you. You're right. There's so much association.
Thanks, Abby.
Love association.
Sure.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or questions about easing the transition back? What has worked for you? Or anything you'd like to discuss before we log off here in the last.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like one of the things I used to think about is, I have to do this for, 20 minutes a day, twice a day or something, and I have to do it in a certain way, that whole like not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, kind of thing. So what would you advise to people that are interested in either HeartMath or some other technique to help with regulating the system? How much time, and how would you kind of go about it? And just kind of curious about that.
Sure. I have a daily practice in the mornings. I tack HeartMath onto my morning meditation. So I do it first, and then I drop into my meditation. But I also practice throughout the day. I practice the heart focused breathing and shifting my emotions when I'm doing the dishes. I do all the time when I'm doing the dishes, all the time when I'm cooking. And I just have attached it to other habits. So I would suggest 3 times a day as the base level of practice. And again, it doesn't need to be long. It can be just for a minute. It could be a few minutes. 5 is probably, in order to increase your baseline of resiliency, 5 minutes 3 times a day is the starting point that's recommended.
I was talking to a meditator many years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, and she was telling me, I'm curious what you think about this. She was saying she's been meditating for 20, 30 years. Her view was that meditating and doing some breathing for 5 minutes 3 times a day was more effective for her than 1 hour once a day, like having it in short chunks.
I agree, because I think you're integrating it into your life. And
Yeah.
that's the important thing, is that you integrate these tools when you need them. That you practice it, that you practice on your own, and then in the moment, it's more accessible to you.
Right. Right. And that's I think what Beth was asking too, about how often to do it. So you were saying, yeah, 5 minutes 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Even, I'm not doing that right now, but even a few minutes once a day is it's better than nothing.
For sure. For sure.
And integrating it too, I think just whatever you're doing, whether you're at home with the kids and at helping them with the school work, or you're working, or you're at home, doing your errands and different things, you could really integrate it into any part of your life. If you're commuting, even you
Yeah.
can do that at stoplights. I mean, there's so many. If you're talking to people, you're still breathing no matter what, so you'll still be able to do that.
Yep, absolutely. This of the techniques is the most basic and easiest, and you can do it anywhere.
Oh, this is a good, any tips on, Beth was asking, do you have any tips on teaching? And maybe you can read that, teaching the technique to young children.
And children, to help them calm down. Absolutely. I think with young kids, it's the physical act of putting their hand on their heart and just having them breathe through their nose, and just envision that they're breathing in and out through their heart is really powerful. Just imagine, like, having them do that step is really great. And then you can ask them to tell you something that they love or they're happy about. You can ask them to talk about the dog or whatever it is, and they can, if they do that, then that will help to shift them. So I would have them start breathing first, in and out a little bit more deeply, and then ask them about something that excites them or they love, and that'll shift them emotionally, if they're able.
Pet therapy, yeah, with the dog or the cat, or we have some bunnies at home. Our kids love the pet bunny.
Yep.
Thank you, Jim, for the comments. It's so great. Yeah, thanks everyone for attending. I know this is lunchtime. This is time that you have to do a lot of other things. You're busy with your school kids, or with work, or with life in general. So thank you for coming to this. And for those that missed it, you can always thank you if you're listening to the recording, later. Thank you for listening too. So Liz has a practice, and I don't know if you want to share your the practice website or something that you have, or
It's flourish.com. Yeah, contact me anytime. HeartMath is one of the modalities I use, but I also, there are lots of others. There's emotional freedom technique. There's emotional agility, lots of other things that I work with to help people build resiliency. So HeartMath is one of the tools in my toolbox, but there are others. And if you want to reach out to me at any time, I would love that.
And Liz is as a member of CIH as well, so you can ask the message the inbox if you have want to book through CIH. That's a great way for the patients. That's a great way to do that. So we will be back next week with Jay Gill, and he's talking about compounding pharmacy and prescriptions for really for different things: pain, energy, hormones, and basically to optimize health when that's needed. I'll be talking with him about that, the safety and efficacy of compounding prescriptions. We have a great lineup this month, led off here by Liz. So thank you so much, Liz, for coming. And we do have, I think we should put something on here, maybe in the chat box, but we are going to have some groups coming up too, HeartMath groups that are going to be starting in late September. So please find out more about that. We'll put that on for the next few weeks too, as we kind of keep going with this. So we will, starting September 29th, yes. So we will see you next week, and everyone have a great rest of the week and weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much.